Hi, hello, and welcome to the Daily Journal's Prep Focus on Football season opener. I'm your host, Tim Ahrens. With me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the authority on high school football in the state of Illinois, Steve Soucie. Soucie, we've been on location before, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is our new favorite place.
I can't really argue with you, Tim. We're at the Crazy Beaver here in Shabance, a hangout of a lot of the Central Comets coaches and fans, and they extended an invitation to come down here and broadcast a show down here. They're big fans of the show, so we decided to graciously accept that opportunity to come down here and see what the Crazy Beaver is all about.
And I've heard that if we had time at the end, you were going to do a demonstration on how to twerk.
Well, I mean, I think that was probably going to be better served by you. I know how agile you are.
Yeah, I'm
so
agile.
I figured that would be best represented by you.
Yeah, well,
to be honest with you.
We'll go with you on that, and let's start with our games.
Yeah.
Let's do that. We're going to open up with our city schools, and we're going to start with Solario Academy at Kankakee.
Yeah, this is a game, an opportunity for Kankakee to get off on the right foot. The last couple years, their season openers haven't gone very well. Their contract with Bishop McNamara elapsed. So this year, they've got a Chicago Public League school. One of Kankakee's 2 victories last year. The Sun Warriors are getting a little bit better in the scheme of public league schools, but as usual, Kankakee's a couple of steps ahead of a below-average public league school. So I think Kankakee will get off to a nice 1-0 start and have some momentum going into that city rivalry game with Bradley Bourbonnais in week 2. I'm taking Kankakee.
You'll take Kankakee. I will as well. I'm thinking things are getting better in Jay Bonner's second year at Kankakee, and we'll see if they keep improving. All right, up next will be TF North at Bradley Bourbonnais. Bradley, I think, to hear you and Kyle Neighbors, our football writer, talk, expecting big things from Bradley this year.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting a couple of things to gel for them. They've got a young defense that they expect good things from, but you never know until the lights come up, and an offensive line that has some question marks. But if they can get through those 2 things, they should be in good shape. It's a loaded Southwest Suburban Conference schedule this year, but fortunately for Bradley, they have a game here that they can test out some things and see how it works. TF North was 1-8 last season, so obviously an opportunity for the Boilermakers to get their season off on the right foot. I'm going to go with the Boilermakers.
I will also take Bradley in this encounter. Also, all 3 city schools playing in town this weekend. Hales Franciscan goes to Memorial Field to take on Bishop McNamara.
This is a tricky game. You look at Hales Franciscan, and they're not necessarily what you would think of as being a football power, more of a basketball school. But over the last couple years, they've established that they are a pretty good small school football program. Won a couple of playoff games in 1A last year. The multiplier kicked back in for them because they had some playoff success. Now they're a 2A school. A really small team, but a really talented team. They've got 3 or 4 kids that are getting some Division I interest. So when it comes right down to it, so this will be a challenging game for Bishop McNamara, who is also going through a little bit of numbers issues of their own. So this should be a really good week 1 test for both sides. I'm going to pick Bishop McNamara solely on the foundation that I think that they're still probably a step or 2 ahead of Hales Franciscan.
Well, let's count this as one of the signs of the apocalypse. We've agreed so far on everything.
I'm not comfortable with this at all. Can we get a redo? I mean, you finished 10 games behind me. Similarities here, not a good sign for me.
Your memory is only good on stuff like that. You don't ever remember the years that I win. You conveniently remember.
They're becoming ancient history. That's what that is. That's the reason why I can't remember that so
okay. Well, why don't we move to the Interstate 8 now? We'll start off with Dwight at Piatone.
Dwight and Piatone. Piatone, I think they could make a big step forward this year under new coach Jason Spang. He's not a rookie coach. He's coached at the varsity level before and was previously an assistant at Herscher. But I like what they're doing up there. I like some of the components that they have with the Rapson brothers, Bobby and Jake. I'm also pretty enthusiastic about their defensive unit as well. So when it comes right down to it, I think Piatone will be the favorite in this game, and will set themselves up pretty well for the rest of the season. Dwight still struggling a little bit, winless last year. Still, trying to get some building blocks down first. Maybe they can get it turned around in the second half of the season, but right now it looks like it's going to be a rough start for them.
Those Interstate 8 games are always big school, small school at first, and this is also Dwight's last season in the Interstate 8, correct?
Yeah,
they move on to the Sangamon Valley.
They're leaving for the Sangamon Valley Conference. That'll leave that conference with 8 teams, and Streeter joining the Interstate 8 in 2014.
Okay, you picked Piatone, right?
I picked Piatone.
I got to go
correct.
with Piatone too, which is kind of a tongue twister. Pick Piatone, kind of a thing there.
Another one we agree on.
Let's move on now to Herscher traveling to Westmont.
This is an interesting game here. Herscher is almost a complete wild card. They have very few returning starters from last year. They don't have a lot of components that we know at this point in time. They like their junior class. Once again, it's another one of those situations where you don't know exactly what a team's going to do until those lights come up for varsity football. Westmont is an interesting study right now. They have a new head coach. They've struggled for a lot of years. And to be nice, we'll describe Westmont's coach as eccentric, I believe is the proper terminology. He once created a formation that was outlawed by the Illinois High School Association and has played in his fair share of 70 to 63 shootouts in his coaching career. So I expect Westmont to be entertaining. They may not be the best, they may not have the best foundation just yet, but they're certainly going to be an entertaining team to watch, I think. So I'm going to take Herscher in this one. It's with a little bit of reluctance. I think this could be a pretty interesting game.
We are just so far right on the same plane. I am also taking Herscher in this one. You have got to be a little bit worried.
I'm feeling like I'm going to lose a bunch of games at this point in time. It's really the only way that it could go.
Okay, here comes the marquee matchup in the Interstate 8. Wilmington traveling to Coal City.
So the Associated Press state rankings came out today. Both of these teams are ranked. Coal City is ranked 9th in the first poll. Wilmington ranked 8th. Coal City, of course, in 4A, and Wilmington in 3. This is a fierce rivalry. These two teams talk about this all summer long. Now that it's in week 1, they go from the end of the previous football season to the start of the next one, talking about who's going to win this game. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure who's going to win this game. I don't really have a strong opinion as to who the favorite should be. Coal City has a defensive unit that they need to overhaul from last season, an excellent defensive unit that was very, very good last year. They only have one returner, but what I like about Coal City is they have an outstanding offensive line in place. They're big, they're talented, and they're going to do a heck of a lot of nice blocking for some very, very talented specialist players for Coal City. Wilmington will be what they always are. They will be fast. They will get to the football, and they will make plays. And offensively, we know what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball as often as humanly possible. And I'm sure they're going to do that well with a couple of new backs, Tony Sinchak and Al Zalomi. So when it comes right down to it, I think this is just going to be a great football game to start. I'm doing something I rarely to never do. I'm picking against Wilmington. I'm taking Coal City.
I knew we were going to have one we disagreed on because I knew you would take Wilmington, and you pulled the carpet out from under me.
Well,
you had me at offensive line when you said Coal City has a good offensive line.
It's awfully good.
So.
I mean, you're going to have to figure out a way to get out there and see those guys because they're awfully big. Well, I'm really fond of their junior tackle, Matt Long. He's 6'4", 265, and gets the job done. So.
There you go. Well, I'm taking Coal City in that, so we stay with our 100% agreement.
This is not good.
So, well, let's see what we can do on the old Reapers and Comets here. Plano at Reed Custer.
Well, Plano is expected to be one of the best teams in the Interstate 8 this year. They've got a good team. They've got a new coach, Jim Green, their longtime and very successful coach, stepped down after last year. Brad Coons, one of his assistant coaches, is taking over. He's had a pretty illustrious college football career, so they're hoping to not skip a beat, but they're changing a few things up there. But I still think the Reapers are probably a notch or two ahead of Reed Custer. So I do think Reed Custer will step up quite a bit this season. I just think that Plano might be too much of a mountain for them to climb in week 1.
So Plano it is?
I'm going to take Plano.
Yeah, we're still on Plano. We're still on total agreement here. This is uncanny. Our last I-8 game, Manteno at Lisle.
Manteno has a lot to replace. They're a total wild card heading into the season. They have one of the area's most prolific passers now at Olivet Nazarene, and Ryan Sample graduate last year. So you really don't know what you're going to get from Manteno. Coach R.J. Haynes is confident in their new quarterback, Ethan Kaufman, but it's a little bit smallish, and a lot of their offensive linemen and wide receivers are gone from a year ago. So when it comes right down to it, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. They do have some good individual players, but whether or not they can fill some of the gaps left behind from graduation is yet to be seen. And Lisle is almost always a little bit tougher when they play their home games at Illinois Benedictine. I'm just guessing here and taking Mantino.
I will also take the Panthers of Mantino. Okay, moving on. This next one looks like kind of I think maybe you got this game wrong. Milford at Oakland. I watched the Oakland Raiders play the Bears last week. They were terrible, but surely they're going to beat Milford, right?
Well, I think you're confusing them a bit. Oakland is a community that's down by Champaign as well. So this is not the Oakland Raiders.
Could Milford beat the Oakland Raiders?
I think it would be a good game. All right, I'll put it this way. I also saw some of that game, and the Raiders are quite terrible. This should be an interesting game for Milford. Clint Schwartz in his second go-around as Milford head coach after Nate Albaugh left to go take the coaching job down in Champaign. When it comes right down to it, Milford's got some nice components. They've got some good athletes. They got a really nice running back in Devin Laubscher. But they still have some questions. They have an experienced quarterback, but they need to fill some holes, and they got a lot of guys going both ways. That happens a lot in 1A football, I'm aware, but it just seems like in their situation they've got an awful lot, more than usual. Oakland's got quite a bit of returning players back this year, 8 on both sides of the football, but Milford handled them pretty easily last year in this season opening game. So I'm going to take Milford in this one. So basically we're looking at a game where I think it could go either way, but I'm gonna take Milford.
Well, we finally have our first difference.
Yes.
I took Oakland here.
You should feel good about this, Milford fans.
Okay, moving on, we got to do the Sangamon Valley Conference now, and once again another mismatch. Moments at Oregon, they're the Pac-10.
Yeah. Once again, you're confusing the fact that sometimes cities, major universities, and professional teams have the same name. Oregon is in northern Illinois. So it's a tough game for them. Basically, they have to make a long road trip. I'm taking Oregon in this one, although it wouldn't surprise me if Moments went up there and surprised them.
Okay, I'll also take the Ducks, although I don't think they're the Ducks.
They're not the Ducks, they're the Hawks.
In Gilman, Iroquois West Raiders will host Eureka.
Yeah, 2 struggling programs here over the last couple of years. Eureka was 2-7 last year. Iroquois West was 2-7. This was one of Iroquois West's 2 victories. Basically, it's going to be a game of who can hang on to the football, I think, in this one, because last year there were a lot of turnovers in this one. Slight edge to Iroquois West because it's at home. That's why I'm taking Iroquois West.
I took Eureka because I don't know.
You've turned on the locals. That's what you've done. You've gone heel on us.
I've turned. Good wrestling reference.
Yes.
Outstanding. Now, are you the babyface then?
I don't know what I am, but I'm just saying you have gone against the locals in both of these coin flip games, and I think those people should be quite angry.
And I'm going to be ashamed of my next pick here too. Robinson at Watseka.
This is a tough game for Watseka, even though it's at home. Breaking in a lot of new, younger players. Coach Lucas indicated that he was going to start as many as 8 sophomores this year. So they'll be real young and green to start the season. Lost their battering ram running back, Austin Blair, several 2-time All-Area performer. So I think early on it's going to be tough for Watseka, and as such I'm taking Robinson.
I'm taking Robinson as well. My Aunt Rita's grandson doesn't play for Watseka anymore, so.
Oh, okay.
So I'm under no contractual obligation to take them. So
just turning your back on the home community, though. They have no issue with that.
They're so young.
Okay.
They're so young.
All right.
And, sophomores, the best thing about them, they become juniors. So.
There you go.
I think that's it. Have we skipped any games?
I think did we get them all?
I don't know. I seem to remember a team plays up the road here a little bit called the Central Comets.
Yes. We did go over that one.
They are hosting the Prairie Central Hawks. And last year, if memory serves, the authority on high school football in the state of Illinois picked the Prairie Central Hawks to beat the Central Comets. I, on the other hand, picked Central, and I won and had a 1-game lead after the first week last year.
Prairie Central is usually a pretty strong team. Central proved me wrong last year, and I think they will be proving me right this year with a victory in that Week 1 game. Nice to a nice test, though, for Central right off the bat. This is a good, solid program, typically, coached by former Bishop McNamara quarterback Brian Hassett. They'll bring a good team to the field. I like the components that Central has returning, and I think that gives them a leg up.
Okay, you'll go with Prairie Central on that one?
Prairie
Okay.
Central. Let's
Okay,
clarify.
I'm taking Central as well. And speaking of Central, I said earlier we had a special guest, and we do have that special guest. He is the all-time winningest coach in Central football history. He has coached his team to 3 state semifinal appearances, and he always wears shorts on the sideline, no matter how cold it is. We're now joined by Central football coach Brian Spooner. Coach Spooner, it is time to play some football, huh? Are you guys ready?
I think we're pretty ready. Our numbers are down, but the kids seem to be working pretty hard, and we got a big challenge again this start the season again this year, and I know that their quarterback's gone and their number 1 receiver's gone, but plenty coming back. I think they're going to have a pretty solid offensive and defensive line, and I think they're going to have some very good skill players as well on both sides of the ball. So, I think our kids are ready to rise up to the challenge. I mean, like I said, I think we're trying to promote that hunger for one more step. I think that's what we've been talking about, and if our kids continue to work hard, maybe that's a possibility. We'll have to wait and see.
The program, obviously, we've talked about this at great length. I mean, you've raised the bar, raised the expectation around there. You've been to numerous playoffs in a row now here, but that's not enough in your eyes. I know you always feel fortunate when you make the playoffs and don't want to put the cart in front of the horse.
Right.
But once you get there, you guys have an expectation of getting something done once you do, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We've had quite a few times we made the playoffs and maybe thought we had a chance to get a little further than we did, and get beat in the first round or the second round. And I'd say our expectation now is pretty high. I think the kids understand that. They work hard at it. Our biggest question marks are going to be our inexperience, and that's going to play out on Friday night. How quickly are our younger kids going to grow up, or our kids that don't have that experience? Hopefully they understand. The season's not going to be dictated by this first game, but it certainly is a good test for us, a good test for them as well, and we're going to place the bar high, because if you don't, once you reach your goal, if it's not placed high, you're not going very far. So we certainly have high expectations, especially with the group of kids we have at the skill positions coming back.
Okay, that's going to do it then. Be sure to grab Thursday's edition of the Daily Journal. We've got our special section for football in there, and here's the cover.
Shameless self-promotion time.
That's not you on the cover. Why, you're not self-promoting?
Yeah, well, I did most of it, so that's what it's about.
That will be in there along with our usual Thursday staff picks. There won't be any statistics this week because we don't have any, but we'll have game capsules on everything. And what else we got here, Mr. Authority? We got anything else to talk about?
I think we're all set up now.
Okay, well, for Coach Spooner, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the sidelines.